got so comfortable, forgot my coat. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the St. Mary's County Planning Commission meeting for July 12th. Our meeting is being recorded for the public record this evening. Any comments made by anyone present must be recorded as part of the record. Therefore, if you have anything that you are going to say, you must come up to one of the microphones provided, or when giving testimony online or on the telephone, please give us your name, followed by your statement. Your comments cannot be recorded and placed in the record unless they are done in this fashion. You are to direct your statements, questions, and responses to the board only, and we will direct them to the appropriate person for an answer. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Anyone testifying or asking questions during our public hearings will be required to take an oath. We thank you for your cooperation. This evening on our agenda, after approval of a set of minutes for June 28th, our first discussion item this evening will be the Board of Education with their facilities master plan. Following that, we have one public hearing this evening, CWSP 21-0040 for property on tap, and that is a water service category amendment, followed by a discussion about our comprehensive plan survey question review. This time, I'll let the board members introduce themselves, starting from Ms. Summers.
Kim Summers.
Patty Robrick.
Howard Thompson.
Merle Evans.
William Hall.
Hey, there we go. And we have Mr. Joe Fazekas online this evening. We also have Joe Van Kirk, one of our board members, is online. And our alternate online, also Mr. Joe St. Clair, is with us this evening. Okay. Let me, staff. Next sheet. Also with us this evening is from Land Use and Growth Management, Mr. Bill Hunt, the director. The deputy director, Mr. Harry Knight, is here. Our senior planner is Quasi Bosimpem. Our planner 4 is Brandy Glenn. Our video media producer is Amy Carter. From the county attorney's office, we have Mr. Neil Murphy and also Mr. John Hauser is here this evening. From the Department of Public Works. No, we don't have them, but in the audience this evening, we have Mr. Andy Balkin from the St. Mary's County Metropolitan Commission. It's an ongoing joke, folks. We just do that. From the Board of Education, we have Dr. Jeff Walker, and we also have Kim Howe with us this evening. Mr. Mahaffey, you are here with us this evening. Good to see you. And from the Department of Economic Development, we have the director, Mr. Chris Casalemas, is with us, and one of his employees, Casey Guidry, with the development facilitator. Welcome to you all this evening. Okay, I think we got all of that. We have a set of minutes from the June 28th hearing. Did everybody have a chance to review those?
Yes, sir. Were you missing the second page?
What's that?
Page 2 of the minutes.
Page 2 of what?
It says 1 of 2, and then there's no second page.
1 of 2 amendments?
You're talking about the minutes?
Yes. I have one set of minutes from the June 28th meeting.
Roger that. In the bottom right corner, it says 1 of 2, right?
Let's see. No, I only have one set of minutes.
It's all I have is 1 page.
1 page.
Roger that. Yours doesn't say 1 of 2 page?
It does.
It does. And did you get the second page?
No.
I do see the 1 or 2 down in the very bottom corner. Well, instead of okaying them tonight, we'll let Brandy check it out, make sure, because I do know that public hearing, I can't remember if that was the last thing we did that night or not. That was passed yesterday, so I don't remember.
I'll double check.
Okay. We
I'll
can
make
okay,
it's not
we can
a
okay
second.
these. We can
Or
do these
that might just
next-
have to be corrected.
Roger that.
Okay. We can wait till the next one on that. Okay. Is that all right with everybody? Just to make sure, double sure. See, keen eye. Been waiting on it.
Well rested.
What? Okay, then we'll move right along for our first discussion item this evening is from Board of Education. Dr. Walker and Ms. Howe, if you'd like to come up.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Just two things by way of introduction. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present our facilities master plan to you tonight. And I'd like to thank Ms. Howe. As many things we've done over the last year, this was a very challenging document to put together. Strange data, different things obviously happening, and a lot of changes coming from the state. But Ms. Howe has done a great job of compiling information and data in a way that gives us a good picture of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going over the next few years. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kim.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but if you've been kind of following along with the Board of Education over the last year, I've been talking about a lot of changes at the state. A lot of it we don't know the answers to. We know it's coming. We know it's going to change the way projects are funded. We know they're going to approve projects differently in the future. But the state's still working through all of those processes and procedures and trying to get everything in place. We're actively part of those discussions, but I did want to kind of go over a little bit of that with you tonight. Part of the uncertainty of what we're looking forward to as we go forward is there's a traditional CIP. That's been the same way since I've started 30 years ago. Everyone put their projects in, they were reviewed. There's a certain allocation, and we used to go to the Board of Public Works and ask to appeal those projects if we needed to. And as of late, we just work with the state and we would process those projects through. Coming into this is the new Built to Learn Act funding. There are $16 million associated with about 17 school systems across the state are going to share this pot of money. What we're averaging is about we're thinking we're going to get 3 to 4 million of that, hopefully. The determination of that hasn't been figured out yet. But what we do know is that for a project to be eligible for this, it has to be $4 million or more if it's going to be a systemic renovation, which is eligible. But the state share has to be $4 million. So we're looking at how that's going to work. There's going to be a portion that the Maryland Stadium Authority is going to be responsible for, and the state just this past week approved the MOU between the state and the Maryland Stadium Authority of how they're going to work those projects, how it's going to be determined which project from a CIP goes forward. And I think the thing that we're looking at is you can get a project that is a traditional CIP, and if the state doesn't have enough money, then we can bring in the MSA money. And at that point, we still retain ownership of that project. We would complete the project like we would normally versus the Maryland Stadium Authority taking and doing that project for us. What that allows us to do is we've been kind of locked into a 10-year figure that we've been using. They've whittled it down to about a 4 or 5 year, and it's holding us right around $5 million at the state level. And as we look forward to some of our projects, that state share is going to be larger than that, or we're going to have more projects that we want to do than $5 million. If we utilize the Built to Learn Act funding, that would increase our $5 million average, hopefully to meet those needs. So that is the way we're looking to pursue that funding. What we also have is some changes to the state cost share that may be coming over the next couple of years, as well as really a desire of the state to shift systemic renovations to the county to take care of. And we also have facility condition index assessments that we've completed recently. The next portion of that is they're finalizing the funding or the project for the initial assessment. That's going to go to a committee to finalize the review, and they're going to come up with a Maryland Condition Index. And that Maryland Condition Index will be for every school in the state, and that will be utilized as part of the state's approval process. There's going to be new funding coming in FY 2025. It's going to be based on the school facilities assessment and those calculations. So we'll continue to see how that funding is going to go as we move forward. When we talk about the document that we presented to you for review today, there were a lot of challenges. The state had a lot of their Maryland Department of Planning, and I'm sure that Land Use and Growth Management experiences as well. A lot of the staff was directed towards COVID resources. So some of the things that we relied on getting, the data that we relied on getting just wasn't there in 2020. our enrollments were a lot different in 2020 as we looked at them because students weren't in school that whole year, so we really didn't have all of that data when we came back this year. We still didn't open in a traditional way. So we had a lot of data concerns that we had to work through. We had to project what a post-pandemic enrollment would look like. We are looking at a capacity study that we're doing. We're looking at virtual academy. There was a lot of different factors that went into this. So Mary Hayden in my office, she deserves much of the credit for the data collection. She was out looking really hard to get this data for us as much as we can. And as we look at the 2021 update for the enrollment, there we go. We did have the delay in getting some of the data that we needed. But when we look at our enrollment projections, next slide, Harry. There we go. There were some interesting things that we found out about our enrollment. Our change from the previous year was we were down 0.06, which in all aspects of everything that we went through during the pandemic is really, it's still a good number for us. We didn't lose as many as we potentially could have. The interesting thing to look at in this is the non-public school enrollment. They went down 1.61, and if you look to the next column over, you'll see that homeschool enrollment went up 1.67. So there was a little bit of a change there. The non-public enrollment did go over to an increase in homeschool enrollment. Overall, total enrollment went down just a little bit. Every indication that we have and some of the stuff that we're looking at now as we look at the beginning of next school year is that we are going to rebound back to where we were. Maryland Department of Planning enrollment projections indicated the same thing. We were within 5% when they sent their information down. So I think it is going to come back. It may come back a little bit slower than it had been going, increasing in the future, but we're going to have a strong student base as we move forward. With that in mind, what we've decided to do is stick with our traditional CIP program that we have. We don't have any answers from the state yet to initiate a change, so we're going to continue to work with them. We've got a regional planner now that we work with at the state that's working on a pipeline for our projects. So if we go to the next slide, Harry, the projects are going to be ones that you're familiar with. In FY23, we're going to be looking for Town Creek's HVAC systemic renovation and Letty Marshall Dent's modernization. That project is currently going through its design study to gear us towards what we need to do with that project as we move forward. It is going to be a modernization because when we started talking to the state about doing a systemic renovation, we're going to have the ceilings out. And once we have the ceilings out, there's a lot of other things we want to do. So it'll be a limited renovation modernization, similar to what we've done at some of the other schools, but not to the same extent as a full renovation. But we will be making some educational enhancements and then really modernizing the facility. In FY24, we'll have the second phase of Great Mills High School's partial roof systemic renovation and the Piney Point HVAC systemic renovation. In FY25, both Green Holly A and Green Holly B, we've been doing work in them independently based on the age of those facilities. So we'll be doing Green Holly HVAC in the B section and their roof, and there's a small portion of that spans the gap between the two that we'll be doing as well. But we'll be doing the roof on Section A while we're doing the HVAC on Section B. In FY 2026 is Chopticon High School systemic renovation, followed in FY 2028. There's a gap because of the cost of that project. We'll be asking for new projects in FY 2028 for Ridge, HVAC, and Lexington Park's roof. Beyond that, we have all of the other projects, because what you're seeing is you're seeing the 1990 projects coming forward. And then there's a list of those behind that are going to need HVACs and roof systemics. That's the project list that we have. One of the things that we are embarking right now, a couple of years ago, we had a capacity study approved through the Capital Improvements Program. And looking at it, we really don't need a capacity study. We understand our capacity. So what we're doing is we're actually in the reviewing of the proposals now. We're going to do a facility utilization study. And what that's going to do, it's going to look at how we utilize our buildings from an economic and educational standpoint, and are they meeting the need? and looking ahead to how all of these new funding streams may be coming in and impact us, and how can we leverage our resources of our facilities, utilizing the best amount of the state funds we can. So hopefully we'll have that completed next spring and will be integrated into the next master plan. So we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Sounds like we're running out of money. I can remember when we discussed a whole lot more projects, but I guess y'all are really looking forward to having the students back this fall and figure out.
We are. It's
How things
exciting. We got a little taste of it in the spring, and it's very exciting.
Any board members have any questions?
I had a question about the enrollments, the 1,000 students that we lost. You said the expectation is that they will return. Will they be returning to the same place that they left, i.e. public school versus non-public or homeschool? Are you expecting that?
Well, I'm expecting that, I would think that the non-public schools are going to see an increase back in theirs as well. I do think one of the things we have to consider is, was there any, we kind of saw this during some other times we've had economic challenges in the county. Maybe they won't come back to the exact same school because maybe they've got a different living arrangement than they did pre-COVID. They're going to come back into our school system. I really do think it may take a 2-year cycle to get everyone back kind of where we were, but I do think we'll see a very large influx in the fall. It may be that they just don't come back to the exact same school, and there may be a little shifting of community dynamics.
Do you have a breakdown of the grade level, elementary, middle versus high school?
We do. We know all of our numbers. The information's in our master plan that we'll look at it by each school.
Okay.
So we do know by grade level at each school what those changes are going to look like.
Was it worse in high school or?
I would say elementary school was where we had
Especially at the primary grades,
yes,
kindergarten especially.
Kindergarten students, were versus virtual or going to some other kind of a format. I think kindergarten, first grade.
Okay.
A little harder for them to do that.
Roger that.
The virtual right off the bat, not having been to
I can
school.
imagine.
I do have something. So, you've been doing this a really long time. You have. And I have to say, every time you guys come forward with this, I'm impressed by the quality of the work that you guys do. And I'm certainly appreciative of that. For anyone that is listening or I think it would be really helpful, at least for the majority of the community, to read at least the first 48 pages. Now, and that's just a lot of very general information, really, but some of it is actually it delves down into some of the things that are required for you guys to be able to do what you do. So I would encourage people that listening to at least get this online, wherever, to read the first 48 pages.
And I appreciate that. It is on our website under.
And that was my next point, was on the website. So, but I mean, I could spend a lot of time, which we don't have here tonight, talking about a lot of the information that's in here. But one thing, and I read it, the whole thing. But there was something that was sort of interested me. I mean, and I sit here a lot and I talk about village centers, town centers, master plans, that sort of stuff. And on page 23 of this, I read with some interest that with regard to the parcel of land that you folks were able to purchase, you mentioned here that multi-use site within Leonardtown, you were fortunate enough to be able to put together a master plan on that site. And I'm sort of all about small area master plans in some level. So the master plan that you guys put together, was that in cooperation with the town, land use growth management? Was it a sort of a collective?
Right, so when we first started down that project, what we did is we brought our architectural team in and we had a charrette. And we talked about all the potential uses. The town was involved, the county was involved. And looking at it from a lot of different perspectives, transportation, the library system was involved, and really looking at how that it could be utilized to create an extension of the hub of Leonardtown to enhance all of the community aspect, and how the school could be an integral portion of that.
Yeah, and I guess previous to you guys doing this, I had attended a charrette in Prince Frederick, which I was really impressed with. Spent a lot of time there, a lot of economic development people and the rest. Unfortunately, a lot of that good information never got from the page to the pavement. And so with you guys, with this, we have library, we have a school, things seem to be moving along. So when you guys did this, is this a document that's on your website by any chance? Or is there a copy of a master plan anywhere?
There is a copy of the master plan. It is not currently on our website, but we do have a copy of that document. Yes.
So if one would like to get a copy of that, we could reach out and get a copy
Reach
from
out
you?
to me, and yes, I would be able to get them.
See, I probably already knew that. So, but anyway, yeah. So and again, I'm appreciative of the document and how well it's written. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. This document goes to a wide variety of users across the state, and we want to make sure that they understand when we ask for school what that dynamic is, because we are an integral portion of the community, and we want everyone to understand that it goes both ways. We want to be part of the community, and we want the community to be part of our decision-making. So we want to paint that picture of this is why we need it, not just for our students, but for our community.
Yeah, and I know back further, years ago, it was always about getting money to build facilities, and now we find ourselves not really needing facilities, at least in the next 6 years or so. And so now, and you guys have always done that. You've always looked at upgrading the facilities. And according to this, 29 years is fairly young.
Yes.
And so I don't know how you compare to the rest of the state. I really can only really pay attention to St. Mary's. But as it turns out, I am also appreciative as a taxpayer that money gets used, a lot of that money gets used into upgrades. Now, you're not going to please everybody. It's just the way it is. But I am appreciative that since you're not building new schools, that you are able to do a lot of upgrades with regard to the infrastructure.
It was really a philosophy decision we made in the 1990s to provide equity amongst all of our schools. We didn't want to have a scenario where we had 3 or 4 brand new schools, and then we had schools that were from the 1940s and 1950s. We wanted to have equitable facilities across the board. And at that time, Governor Glendening was very appreciative of expansion versus new, and we really utilized that, and were able to expand and modernize the bulk of our facilities. We have a couple more left to do. We have Letty Denton, Mechanicsville left to do, and some work on some of the others, but we really did make a equitable plan to address all of our facility needs across the county.
Yeah, because we sit here, and I struggle with transportation money, roads, infrastructure, and the rest of that. And I see transportation money heading north, a lot of it, and I understand that maybe the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but, when I look at other counties and the kinds of money that winds up being in their coffers, but then I look at their infrastructure. Their infrastructure is so old.
Yes.
It has not been maintained the way this has, so I'm appreciative of that too, Kim.
Thank you
So
very much.
thanks.
It's definitely been a collaborative effort, and we appreciate all of the input that the Planning Commission has and the support that they've given us over the years to make these projects come to fruition.
Well, good.
Mr. Van Kirk or Mr. Fazekas, do you have anything?
Yes, Chairman, Joe Van Kirk here. I had one quick question for Ms. Howe and Dr. Walker. On their state assessment sheet, the last bullet item where it says uncertainty on how FCI and MDCI will impact future funding. I mean, it says you're uncertain, but can't you be fairly a little bit certain that because of the way you guys have kept the condition of the schools so well compared to when you read the state report, that you almost have to know the funding is definitely going to be down, over the next few years as they start projecting, after the, wouldn't you imagine that to be the case?
We've had a lot of discussions. All of my counterparts across the state have had discussions about the impact of the MDCI, because what is going to happen is a school that has not been well taken care of for whatever reason is going to rise up. It's going to have a high MDCI. It's going to need to have work. We're not going to wind up probably in that situation. We're not going to be the worst in the state by any stretch of the means because of the investments that have been made into our schools. The state is aware that all of the money can't go to a select county or two. So they're trying to work through the process of how to fairly and equitably give out the state funding and to create an allotment where we don't lose the funding that we already have. And a lot of the Built to Learn Act funding is going to go to those other counties. So we're going to rely on the traditional CIP as the state is progressing through in their decision-making. It's not finalized, but that's what we're hopeful is, that we can maintain the traditional CIP and maybe augment it with a little bit of BTLA funding.
All right, well, let's hope that happens and you're not penalized, or we as a county or the taxpayers or the school board is not penalized for the great condition that you guys have kept schools in over the years. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. Mr. Fazekas, you have anything?
No questions.
Okay. Ms. Summers, you have anything?
No, I don't have any questions, but I would like to say that having worked in the school system for 32 years, I had an opportunity to work very closely with Ms. Howe and Dr. Walker, and I can certainly attest to the amazing job that they do and want to echo the sentiments of Mr. Evans and thanking you for all that you do.
Thank you.
I did have one question from my not being able to speak friend this evening. Could you can you explain the 5 million or 4 million threshold that you mentioned earlier in the BTLA discussion?
So originally what BTLA was going to be doing, it was going to fund new construction or a renovation that put a building back to like new. And my counterparts across the state came back and said that that's fine, but we have a lot of schools that, for instance, Chopticon, they may have looked at that and said the value of the repairs are such that we'd like you to replace that building. And we've argued and advocated for the fact that there's inherent community involvement in our schools. There is infrastructure that's been in place that doesn't need to be demolished and replaced. They have many more useful years left than that. Because the desire of the state is more of a lower cost facility that can be replaced over time if it needs to versus renovation. They're really about bringing the cost of construction down. So we've advocated, and what they've come back and said is we'll now include systemic renovations as an eligible BTLA funded project, but it has to be at least a $4 million project for the state share. And that's fine, because a roof or an HVAC is going to cost that. If you get into a real small school, it might be a bit of a challenge, but then you could go traditional CIP on it. So they have heard what the LEAs are saying, and they're listening, and they've now made those eligible for state funding for a systemic renovation. There's a lot of counties in the state that are just like we are. That's where they're at. They're in the mode of keeping up their infrastructure, replacing those core pieces.
You almost really have a hard time right now with the cost of anything that, I'll say, that goes with brick, block, and mortar. Anything inside of it, and all building materials are just sky high. Must be,
It's pretty volatile. Our last few bids were done at a time when we may have benefited more than we're hurt by that. We're preparing a few now, for example, the Mechanicsville renovation that, depending on when we end up putting that out for bid, could certainly be affected by the price volatility. We've been lucky so far with our major projects.
Some of the projects we had, they were coming out to bid right at the point that we were going into the shutdown. So people were looking for work. So that really did benefit us when there was not a lot of work and there was a workforce that needed those. Now, it is switching in some of the costs of those materials. We just had a discussion last Thursday with the state. They had a discussion about it, that they're watching the industry, and the industry saying it's going to start leveling off in terms of the COVID cost. But with the volume of work coming in, we'll have to wait and see how that impacts it, because there's a lot of projects at the state level right now.
I got one more question. Is there any concern with regard to where the state generating revenue, for example, and what our allocation would be for that revenue? Years ago, and probably still today, the state would be fine with forward funding a lot of this stuff. Are you concerned that if revenues fall, that our piece will get smaller, and then they would suggest renovations that would be forward funded? Do you think that?
I think it's a plausible consideration. We went through that this past spring. There was a proposal to cut $50 million out of the CIP at the last minute. And we did receive notification that our allocation was going to go down. It worked its way out, and our allocation held because they found a way to fund it. So that's always a concern, is that, at any given time that the revenue could be cut for that program. But I think the state, what I've seen over the last 2 years is a willingness and an understanding that the state has to work with us to understand how to keep our projects going forward. But forward funding is always, I think, on the state's table.
Yeah, and because I know one of the concerns was that, while you might commit to doing something that was forward funded, it's forward funded. And so when something new comes up, you'll get an opportunity to say you'll either get the new money or you'll get your forward funded money back. So, and that has always really concerned me, the way the state sort of handles that forward funding.
And there are several counties in the state that are owed a tremendous amount of money, and they're just taking the new money at this point because it's paid off, and they're taking the new money. But
taking the new money. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Anything else? BJ?
One last question for me. The timeline for the utilization study. Do you have an idea when that's going to happen?
we're entertaining the proposals now.
Yes, ma'am.
We hope to be going to our board in August, and we would start the work in September. In the proposal, we have the work being completed by March. And we're in a good position because much of the information that they need, we either have in the master plan, we have in our comprehensive maintenance plan, or we have as a result of all the data research that we did to provide the information to Bureau Veritas for the state facilities assessment.
Okay.
So pretty much everything that they need, I can turn around the very first day and hand them. So it's not going to be a lot of data research. That period of time, that contract's going to be relatively small.
Roger that. So you probably already know what the results are going to be.
I want to say I'm trying to keep a very open mind. I have ideas, but I want to keep a very open mind to see what someone else comes in and talks to all of our relevant, agencies and citizens and constituents to see what they have to say as well.
Roger that.
And the good thing is, we have all of this information. We know that all these changes are coming, so it can be incorporated into this study to understand, that there's going to be an opportunity for other funding sources coming down the line.
Yeah. Thank you, Mel.
Well, once again, thank y'all. We can always look for on. Y'all are very fortunate to have the hardworking staff that you have over there throughout the school system, doing a fine job. I know it'll be exciting for you all this fall because all those little chaps that haven't seen each other for a while, I just know from my grandchildren they're ready to roll. So good luck to y'all.
But thank you.
We enjoy coming and talking with you every year, and I would be very remiss if I didn't say we have a really great partnership with the staff at Land Use and Growth Management. It is truly a partnership that benefits our county.
Y'all. Okay. Have a good evening now. Okay, we're going to take a couple-minute recess to set up for our next hearing. At this time, we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Montgomery Ward Sales Agency.
Okay.
Actually, where Clark's Warren is.
You all ready?
Yes, I'll talk to you.
In the summer because it's just too hot.
Okay, we're going to come back into session. Our next, we have a public hearing, number CWSP 21, excuse me, -0040 for the property on tap, and it's up for a water service category amendment. Let's see, let me get that straight here. Okay. At this time, I'll ask anybody that's going to be testifying or have any statements on this this evening, please stand now and I'll get you sworn in. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony, responses, and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Knight. Okay, who's going to be speaking for the county?
Quasi will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Bossenpam,
Yeah.
please go.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. I'm here to do the presentation for the Comprehensive Water and Sewage Plan Amendment for the Property on Tap LLC, case number CWSP 21-0040 on Capitol Lane in Charlotte Hall. Next slide. Yeah, just for the development information, as you notice, the owner and applicant is the Property on Tap LLC, the agent, Billy Mahavi and Associates. This property is on tax map 4, grid 4, parcel 281. It's an out parcel A with an address 37281 Capitol Lane, Charlotte Hall. The zoning is a town center mixed use, TMX, within the Charlotte Hall Town Center, and the acreage of the property is 1.84 acres proposed to. The proposal that the applicant is to amend service area map 3-4 to change the water service category from W-6D, service in 6 to 10 years, developer finance, to W-3D, service in 3 to 5 years, developer finance, and this is to facilitate connection to public water service. Yeah, this is the map that's showing the property location on the south side of Capitol Lane, on the east of 3 Notch Road, in Charlotte Hall. Next slide. Yeah, as stated earlier, the zoning map, the property is zoned TMX, Town Center Mixed Use. This is the existing service category, which is a W-6D. The proposal, as stated earlier, is to amend the CWSP into W-3D. There were the TEC reviews. The minor subdivision plan was reviewed by TEC and other agencies on April 28th. 2021. There were TEC comments from the Health Department and Medcom that supported the proposed connection to public water service. Notifications of this proposal and amendment was sent to MDE on May 14, 2021, and the notice of this public hearing was also published in the Enterprise on June 25th and July 2nd, respectively. Next slide. Also, to continue the notifications, adjoining property owners and those within 200 feet were all notified by certified mail. The property was posted as required, and the certifications of legal ad publication, property posting, and mailings to adjoining property owners have been provided to the recording secretary as Exhibit 1. The findings of this application, the request is in conformance with the comprehensive land use plan, which directs that water service be provided to growth areas. The other finding is that the proposed development is approvable in the town center mixed use TMX zoning district. Again, the Charlotte Hall water system is adequate to serve this development. To continue the findings, the applicant will bear all installation costs in connection to existing service. Construction shall be in accordance with the St. Mary's County Metropolitan Commission's standard specifications for water and sewage construction. Also, the proposed amendment will be compatible with state laws and programs. The Health Department and the St. Mary's County Metropolitan Commission support this amendment. In conclusion, the Planning Commission is requested to forward a recommendation to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County. The Commissioners of St. Mary's County will conduct a public hearing to consider this amendment. And if approved, the amendment will be forwarded to the Maryland Department of the Environment for your review. And the last findings. In conclusion, the Planning Commission is requested, as there's a motion ahead of, before you to consider the motion, and also there's a resolution that was given to you all, to sign, to recommend this to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County. Yeah, that's all that I have, and I think the applicant is here, if there's
Okay, does anybody have any questions of staff at this time? Okay, hearing none, I'll have Mr. Mahaffey come up, give us any information he'd like to add to that. Good evening, Mr. Mahaffey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good evening to all of you commissioners. I think we're going to put a slide on the screen.
PowerPoint.
That's really it's an applicant's report. It really reiterates what Quasi has just explained to us. It's a fairly straightforward application. This parcel of land is located on Carpenter Lane. There's a water line actually on this property, but the maps failed to indicate that water line is there. So we're asking that the category be changed so that the lot can hook up to the water line.
Okay.
So, my report is right in keeping with the staff report. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. At least try to answer them.
This is pretty straightforward. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
No, not of the applicant. I've asked this question before, this, a lot of time and effort goes into a CWSP change. Your applicant, you have to make applications, it costs money, TEC. And I struggle with this whole notion that there has to be a better way. Administratively, it seems to me, doing a water and sewer category change, it's not being paid for by the county. I understand that it's required, but all these TEC agencies could report to whomever makes those decisions and do that. Yes?
I agree. Hear, hear.
It just seems like I'm trying to figure a way that makes it smoother, I guess. That's all,
Here we are, a citizen of the county is being asked to go to 2 public hearings and request to connect a piece of property to public water, which he is required to hook to. It's there. He's required to do it.
right.
And we have to go through this exercise to.
Okay, so I got your opinion. Mr. Balkin, I have a couple of questions for you if I could. They're going to put sewer in place for this. A conventional sewer will be installed on this lot with the understanding that if sewer ever comes to the town center, they will abandon that and hook up to the sewer that would be made available. Is that accurate?
By Chapter 113, METCOM is not, by law, cannot force people to connect. When you do development, though, that's usually when the connection is required. If sewer is available and comes to that area, I don't know what it says on
The general notes say in the general notes.
You have to be required to connect if it becomes
It
available.
doesn't say required. It just simply says they're going to do a conventional system. And they have a set aside, for if it fails.
Yes.
But, and it says in the general notes that it would be abandoned and then go into a
Public system.
public system, right. So, and I just want to make sure that's accurate.
Yes.
And the other part of it is, since it's a town center, you guys, Metcom, would get your marching orders with regard to sewer, providing sewer in the town center. You guys don't do that.
No, sir. We're not to build it,
I
and they
know.
will come.
So that would come through from land use and growth management, commissioners,
It's developer-driven.
it's all developer-driven.
Yes, it is.
County is tickled to death as long as somebody else plunks down the money. It just is what it is. But it's part of the infrastructure. We're going to
Yes.
have a town center. You have to have sewer. You can't have a town center. You have water, but, not one that actually could be built out as I could, perceptually think of as a town center, I guess.
Yes.
I'm always beating this drum with regard to the infrastructural part of it.
Yes.
And I understand the developers generate, that's why the sewer is up there now. I mean,
The private,
the
small
yeah.
system.
They build
yes.
it. They build it.
Yeah, you
and
built
then-
it, yes.
And then for $1, you get it. I mean, that's just the long and the short of it. And if you're on the short end of that, that's not necessary.
Yes, and I think a big thing, and you stated it, I believe, maybe the last meeting, the main problem we see in the future, and I've discussed this with the director, is failing systems.
No question.
And it's not a matter of, it's a matter of when, not if. I mean, we're dealing with it at St. Clement Shores, having to do that. But, that's going to come, and that should be something to look at in the future of having systems that people can hook up to.
Yeah.
I mean, because those systems are going to fail. I mean, they're at their lifespan.
So Mr. Erickson's not here and your engineer's not here tonight, so I'm going to say this to you again. I'll say it one more time. The line that is built on Route 249, that was built with federal dollars way back in the 70s, is a denied access line.
The Piney Point Road?
Piney Point Road.
Yes.
It has reached its zenith. It fails from time to time, but it's time for that line to be replaced.
Yes.
So my question to you and was to Mr. Erickson, because Metcom's going to replace it, you'll have to replace it.
Yes, we own the line.
Well, you don't own the line. You may own the line, but there's denied access to it.
Well, so that line has in a 20-year, so in 1980, there was a report done. There's a 20-year service area.
Right.
That those properties in that 20-year service area can connect, or if you have a failing system.
Failing system.
But if you're outside of it, and I call it like Piney Point proper. It's like right in the center, the heart. If you have a failing system and you're along that line, you can connect, but nobody else can connect. Yes, and that was based on what the commissioners agreed in 1980, and then
With federal dollars.
yeah, I mean that's
Federal government. So here's my question. My question is, you're going to have to replace the line because it's going to
yeah,
fail.
we're already doing testing on it.
Right. All right. So you're going to do that. Who's going to own the line when you're done?
We will.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Because Mr. Erickson wasn't sure about that.
I don't know. Maybe what he knows.
And-
Mr. Erickson knows a lot more than I do. A lot of things in Metcom.
My suggestion was, if you're going to replace the line, reach out to the federal government and ask to buy it. They'll sell it to you for $1. So, but you don't want to build a line and not have control over the line.
Oh, sure.
I mean, we have a Callaway Village Center. We have Piney Point Town Center. We have a second district, that's a village center.
I speak to multiple. In my almost 3.5 years, I've spoken to multiple people that want to connect, and I'm saying, sorry, it's a restricted line, and it's hard to explain that to people a lot of times because it's a public sewer line. But yes, and we have to direct people when you get up to Callaway. Oh no, you can't touch that line. You have to go across the road to the
Right.
other line. And
That was built by Mr. Watson. That wasn't built by, Mr. Watson built that all the way down to the bottom of the hill when they built that development. So what I want is I want to be able to look at village town centers and adequate infrastructure with regard to roads, water, and sewer. And what I don't want to do is have Metcom build something that they don't have control over. and I'm not saying you would open it up, because I don't want infill, all the way from 249 to, to Piney.
I mean, I don't know about the federal part of it, but I know when it breaks, we go fix it. Therefore, in essence, we own it.
Right, they did with developers. What you do to developers, they built it, they paid for it, and then turned it over to you, and then you get to fix it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's along the short, and that's what happens with developers. They build it, and then they turn it over to you for whatever they turn it over to you for. I guess, so I'm back to the infrastructure part of it, which is more of a concern for me, especially when, moving forward, if we have failing systems
Yes.
that are it's going to happen.
Yes.
It's not if, it's when. And they got those little pink pills. They throw those pink pills in the toilet, and about half of St. Mary's County will turn pink if you're not careful. So I'm just
Totally agree with you.
So this is the third time I've said this to somebody.
Yes, I know. I've been keeping track, actually.
So I appreciate it. That's it, Andy. That's all.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions of Mr. Mahaffey on his project? Anybody? Mr. Van Kirk or Mr. Fazekas, do you have anything?
No comments.
Okay.
No comments.
Okay. Well, if there are no questions, I'll go ahead and open it up to public testimony. Mr. Knight, would you like to see if we have anybody? I don't see anybody.
I agree. I see no one in the room. I'll call the Savage conference room.
Thank you, sir.
Planning Commission public hearing.
Ms. Glenn, do we have any public callers?
We do not.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and hearing none, I'll go ahead and close public testimony. You don't have much to rebut, Mr. Mahaffey, so you're in good shape tonight. I think this is a pretty plain and simple application.
You got off very easy tonight, Mr. Mahaffey.
Yes, sir. This is your
I'm
day.
appreciative of that.
I'm sure you are.
So I'm going to go ahead and close it. If there's no deliberations from the board, I'll accept a motion.
I'll give you one.
Okay.
In the matter of requested amendment to the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan, CWSP, for Property on Tap LLC, case number CWSP 21-0040, I move that the Planning Commission recommend to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County that service area map 3-4 be amended to change the service category from W6D, service 6 to 10 years, developer finance, to W3D, service 3 to 5 years, developer finance, for the property described as tax map 4, grid 4, parcel 281, part of parcel A in the 5th election district. I further move that the chair be authorized to sign a resolution on behalf of the Planning Commission to transmit the recommendation to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County.
You have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Hall. Okay, any discussion? Okay, I'm going to do this on roll call. Mr. Evans?
Yay.
Ms. Robrick? Mr. Fazekas?
Yay.
Ms. Summers?
Okay.
Mr. Van Kirk?
Yay.
Mr. Hall?
Yeah.
And I'll also vote for approval. Thank you for coming to see us tonight, Mr. Mahaffey. We'll see you again real soon.
It is my pleasure to be here, always, and I'm sure the owners of the property feel exactly the same. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Good to see you. Okay. And while we were on talking about the roll call vote, I guess I can announce this now. This is going to be our last hearings utilizing the Zoom process. All hearings now will be public hearings. All board members will be asked to come to the meeting room. Of course, I mean, if you can't make it, that's what Mr. St. Clair is here for. Make sure that we're well represented in any way. But this will be the last for us and also for the that other board, the Board of Appeals. This will be they'll be going non-Zoom also. Okay. Is that okay to do that at this time, Mr. Hunt? Okay. I'm glad to be back to normal. Okay. let's see, our third item this evening was, I think Mr. Bossenpen was going to talk to us about the comprehensive plan survey question review. And Mr. Knight,
I'll be his wingman.
there you go.
Yeah, thank you again, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioners. We're here again following up on the last meeting. The recommendations that you gave, my Deputy Director took a look at it, and then I provided some details in various categories, for the survey, which you have before you. On question 5, the categories have been provided. On question 6, categories have been provided, including others. On questions 14, they provided guidance to choose and rank the multiple choices. And on question 20, there were other explanations on why we are collecting these email addresses, with other new questions on 21 and 22. And I'll let my director go ahead and explain it further.
Yeah, so of course, 21 is the only new question because we were asked to add the zip code. And then I took the liberty of adding non-resident option because as I was changing the years, it occurred to me, hey, how does someone who isn't a resident yet, I was noticing other surveys for other communities on their comp plans are curious, why are you in the community? Why do you take an interest? And so people who work in the community, people who come to the community to visit, people who, could be thinking of moving to the community. So why not find out if some of these respondents are non-residents?
That's actually a good idea because there are probably a fair number of people that are not residents of here. They're here for work, temporarily, or pay taxes to other states, that sort of thing. So that's a good idea.
And we thank you for all the inclusions. Is there any questions from the board?
I'd recommend that you just you take this and put it into the Grammarly app. It's a lot of notes in here, just cleaning up the either grammar, punctuation, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Just throw it in there just to clean that up a little bit. Walking through some of these questions, I'm a little worried about some of the possible responses in some places. For one, let me just question number 8. I was thinking that it may be a good idea to kind of put number 8 toward the front, just because you ask people about certain questions and they may not have many ideas of how to address a question. But if you put the vision, the pieces here about the vision, if you have those toward the front, it's like it may spark some ideas on how to respond to some of the follow-on questions. Because I know I was reading it, I was like, if I didn't understand, if I didn't have an idea of how to respond, I may get to this portion of the survey and come back to the front and answer some of these questions differently. That's just a suggestion there. The number 5 seemed like you should have a little more. It should be a little more restrictive. And I think maybe they should align with the way you have question 8 broken out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what categories to add, and I didn't want it to basically be a repeat of the categories in number 8.
Roger that.
But by all means, if you have a different category you would have us add, or if there's a category you think we should strike, we are all ears.
Right. Just more how I mean, just looking at this, it's like what one thing, would have the greatest impact on improving the quality of life. Just looking at those 4 options, I'm like, there's a lot of other things that.
Well, if you would name one, I will gladly add it with the Planning Commission's, overall approval. But I'll be honest, I struggled because Well, first we had no categories. It was just name one thing. And so that was, just let anyone come up with their own idea. And Ms. Summers had the suggestion, let's give them categories to help them come up with those ideas. And I personally have a very good quality of life in St. Mary's County. So I struggle trying to think of what do I need to improve my quality of life. And I couldn't think of anything personally. So I had to step out of myself and imagine I'm one of these people who is suffering difficulty finding affordable housing or, getting enough soccer fields for their kids to play on, what have you. So I would gladly add another category or two, however many you think is appropriate.
Or we can add this, just to give a much more an opportunity for people to put in what they want.
I think Patty had a good.
Say it for me. Ms. Roebuck would like to maybe on the number 5 to put other underneath that.
Okay. Much like we did with number 6.
Can I make a recommendation that goes along with what you were just saying, Mr. Hall? It would make a lot of sense to move 8 underneath number 3.
Okay.
Okay.
So 8 becomes 4.
Right. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent.
Number 18, I was a little nervous about number 18. Please give us your opinion about the following areas. Then we just kind of lay those out there. It was like, what exactly are you looking for in that question?
Opinions.
Yeah, I totally understand. But it's like sometimes you may ask somebody, what's your opinion about Lexington Park? You never know what you're going to get what you're going to hear from that. So, it probably should put some parameters around what you're asking for, because I'm just saying we should just give a little more definition of what you're looking for in that question.
So categories again, please rate the area.
Well, I'm not sure exactly. If I could be completely honest, I'm not sure what you're looking for myself.
Well, people's impressions of these different areas of the county. I mean, if you're uncomfortable with question 18 and there's been some suggestion that we have too many questions, perhaps the commission would recommend we strike question 18. That's an easy fix.
I'm not opposed.
I don't think people will understand 18. Most people don't even know the difference between a developmental district, town center, and village center. I would say if you struck any question, in my opinion, that would be the one.
I agree.
Okay, I see a second.
Sorry to be that guy.
Oh, no. This is exactly what we want to hash out here today. So moving forward, we have the final version that the Planning Commission wants.
On question number 7, if we can give some type of definition of development, let's assume that people are just coming to this fresh and they don't read these plans on a regular basis, because you may have somebody participate. It's like, you could develop in a lot of different ways. And so if you don't describe which type of development that you're looking for, people may not give you a response that may be useful.
Yep, good point. So which definition of development should we use? New construction?
Commercial and residential.
But in essence, I think what we meant was probably new construction. Because that's what people see as development, right? That new house, that new apartment building, that new restaurant. Whereas development, if we go to the literal definition from the zoning ordinance, is as simple as grading. So we didn't mean that. So it's a very good point that the word development isn't really clearly stating what we want people to react to.
That's That's why I was saying if it's commercial versus residential, are we building too many 7-Elevens? Are we building too many shopping centers? Are we building too many housing developments?
So we could turn it into 2 questions that would replace question 18. I'm not suggesting in that slot, but if you'd like to have a difference of response, the pace of commercial development versus the pace of residential development.
Right, that would work.
Okay?
You all right with that?
Number 17. It seems like that would be a good place to have another yes/no table, because you just kind of ask a bunch of questions in one sentence.
So you want what now on that?
So like the table that we have on 14. So it's like, have you been concerned about developmental trends, funding priorities, environmental impacts, economic issues? So it's yes. But what am I giving you there? It's like, I understand. You have to, I'm thinking about, like, if you're trying to sort the data out, right? Because at some point you got to do an analysis of the data. And if you just give, this is kind of an open-ended question, but the intent is to figure out to try to find out if these are concerns, right? And so if these are concerns, we would only know if you address each of those individually. You're trying to.
Are you referring to question 6?
17.
Oh, 17. I'm sorry. 17.
Yeah, you could turn that into a yes or no.
Right, just the same thing as they have on 14.
Got you. So 17, restructure like 14.
I know y'all are under the gun to get this out because we need to get the information back. So after we get done working, whatever else we might want to change up, I'll ask the board members to go ahead and give us a motion to forward it up, and we'll go over the list of changes. I've been writing them down. I think I got them pretty well done. So that giving y'all permission to go ahead and send that back to us, but to go ahead and start getting it out there, because I know you're under the gun to get this information back in order to keep within the timeline that you have.
Harry? I'm not suggesting we take it out, but on question 9, with regard to the visions of the 2010 comprehensive plan that's been implemented, do you suppose it would help if we put a link where they could go to the 2010 comprehensive plan, or at least a page where they could read what the visions are? My guess are that it would be is that a fair number of people don't know what those visions are. I mean, they're important to read, and I have encouraged them to read this piece from the Board of Education tonight. But maybe something to direct them to a page within the comprehensive plan that describes those visions.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. That's a good suggestion.
Maybe that would help, maybe.
Right.
At least they would know what they were answering.
Just think what it would have been like if we had the other 2 board members sitting here tonight.
They're still logged in, aren't they?
They're still logged in. And neither one of them shy.
It's true.
We're still here.
I know.
There you go.
I had confidence in you. Okay, is there anything else?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, number 8's going to become number 4 on the survey. We're going to add other to number 5.
Yes.
Going to strike number 18. Number 7, we were going to add commercial residential aspect to it.
And actually turn it into 2 different questions.
Right.
Yep.
17.
Right, a 7 and an 8.
Yeah. 17, you were going to,
I wrote restructure to be like 14.
yes, to put a table in there. Yep. And number 9, additional link for information on the comp plan. That sound good to everybody?
Perfect. There's one, weren't we moving 8 to 4?
4, yeah. Yeah, that was first on the list.
Yeah, it was the
Number
first-
8
that
moves
was the
forward to
first
become
one.
4.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? I need a motion so that we can go ahead and direct them to make these corrections. And Mr. Hunt, correct me if I'm wrong, they can afterwards send that to us, but then proceed with putting the survey out? Because we know what the corrections are as of tonight. We just have to go ahead and,
Yes, sir, we can do that. What I'd like to do, as we finalize this, is even send it back to you as a finished product, because we're making it into a folder.
Yes, for the drop boxes, there are 2, one for the link in SurveyMonkey, and for the hard copies, we're going to make into a folder, for about 10 or 15 drop boxes.
well, if we have to wait till, I'm just trying to, I know y'all, the time is of the essence, so are you good with a 2-week wait? When's our next meeting, Brandy?
Well, is distributing the folder to them just to show them what the finished
Just to-
product looks like?
To
not-
illustrate what it's supposed to be like.
We can make a motion on the changes
The content.
that we
Yeah, I
implemented
just-
tonight.
Wanted to let you know that because we are having paper copies and not just online resources, you would probably want to see what the finished product looked like. Not that it's going to change the content, but just how it's going to appear. So that, I don't think that would slow us down
Yeah.
to do that, just so that you'll see it.
I just know at the last hearing that we were going to, with some of the changes that we had implemented, I think Mr. Bossenpen was looking for the thumbs up tonight. So we've made some more changes. So I want to make sure that y'all aren't being held up too long.
No, we're fine with it. The thing is, we'll put together the folder with the content that you've approved, get that ready to go online, and then just for your information, see it, that it won't just be 8.5 by 11. The finished product that we're going to have with the drop boxes is actually something that's going to be a little more artistic than just,
Okay. So then we can wait to approve it at the next hearing?
I don't think you need to, unless you want to see the graphics of it.
Well, and just to be clear, I mean, the graphic brochure can come after the SurveyMonkey brochure, the SurveyMonkey online.
Right.
So with your approval tonight, we have decided on the questions for SurveyMonkey, but the paper folded format, it sounds like Bill would like to have you all approve that separate.
Well, then we can do that at the next hearing then, but tonight we can get you started. So
Right.
Yeah.
We may not have the folder ready for the next hearing, but the content's going to stay the same.
Well, I mean, I guess that's even a question for the Planning Commission, knowing that we're going to have these drop boxes, and we are going to create I'm going to call it a tri-fold brochure so that it fits in the slot easy. So a person is able to open it up. If they want to, they can fill it out longhand. They can also scan the QR code and go online and do it. But Bill wants you to see that final brochure, not necessarily for you to approve it prior to distribution, but just so you see it.
Just so you see it was my idea.
You gonna get this in a trifold?
That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's being looked at in a design whereby one can easily fold them to a trifold and has a slot. Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff for a trifold, bro. Okay. Do y'all have a
We'll
draft?
print-
Do y'all have a draft of what the SurveyMonkey looks like?
Do I know what the SurveyMonkey online will look like?
I'm sorry, did I say that too?
I'm just making
Sir.
sure I understand.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
always, I do not. I've not seen it, no.
Okay. Y'all said y'all were getting an account. and so I
Yes,
was-
sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
And so, what's that?
I said they do a good job.
Well, oh yeah, I love SurveyMonkey. I was just kind of curious because that would be interesting to see as well. Just if we're getting all these, can we get like a draft of what a link to like the unreleased SurveyMonkey?
We could certainly provide the planning commission, information as we move along. The challenge, though, is to make it clear that we're not distributing it by email, seeking a planning commission decision by email. We can't do that.
That would.
So we can
Outside of this, you can't do that.
we can distribute information if people understand they're not to react to it.
Roger that. I don't see how that would be different from us getting the form. So
No, I agree. I think Bill wanted to, bring it, maybe have it in your packages for an upcoming meeting.
Just so you can see it.
But it's Quasi's staff who's going to be working on the SurveyMonkey. And now that we have the questions, or almost have the questions, it shouldn't take them long to set up the account. I'm not a SurveyMonkey person. I don't know that I have any intention of even visiting it.
it's too easy. You can do it.
I'll use the
45
long
minutes.
hand.
45 minutes, you're done. You're good.
Yeah, I think the link can be sent to you to look at how it's going to be.
Right.
Because we will have a process. We now have to go through PIO to issue a press release and everything before a decision is made to make it public.
Yeah, you
But
could-
before that, a link can be sent to you.
Yeah, you just send us the link and we
Yeah,
do
to
it
look
on
at
our
it.
own, but you don't
Yeah.
really want to put it in the body of a email and send it to us that way. What you want to do is just send us the link.
Yeah,
And
just
let
a
us
link.
at our leisure go on and look at it. That way, well, the reason for all that is because these people get nervous
I know.
about having ex parte communication.
Yeah.
And so I don't want that to happen.
So during that process, and then if we have the hard copy ready,
Yeah.
then it could also be sent to you to take a look at it and then see how, and I'm sure, within the next 2 weeks or so, those various steps can be undertaken.
And Mr. Hall, it is our plan to have it so that you don't have to finish it all at one sitting, because you mentioned that due to its length, some people with short attention spans. So we want to not lose that crowd. And so that's an important part of the setup, is we want to make sure that a person can pause their survey and go back to it and finish it.
Roger that.
Okay, so we know what the changes are. Do I have a motion to implement them? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Robert. Got to go back to won't have to do this soon. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Okay, roll call. Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Robert?
Aye.
Mr. Fazekas?
Aye.
Okay. Ms. Summers?
Aye.
Mr. Van Kirk?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Haven't got to look up at you lately. And I vote for it also. Okay. We appreciate all the hard work y'all are doing to get this all straight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Be seeing you. And we've already made the announcement about Zoom. We will be live from now on. Mr. Balkin, you'll be here every week. Just think of that. Every meeting. Every meeting.
Every week.
Every meeting. Well, I mean, you can come every week. We just might not be here, but you can come every week. It'll be okay. Okay. If there's no other new business, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion. Have a second. Have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. We're adjourned for the evening.
Aye.